a handsome billionaire gave up his wealth to find true love. Jamal's life was a constant parade of luxury, high-rise penthouses, sleek sports cars, and gatherings with the city's elite. He is a self-made billionaire. As the founder of Jamal Limited, a prestigious real estate empire, he was accustomed to the world revolving around him. He could possibly have anything he wants in life because he can afford it, but yet behind the wealth and prestige, he felt empty. Every room he entered was filled with people drawn to his status, not his true self as they linger around him. One evening, Jamal returned home after a gala, feeling especially disconnected. As he walked into his room, he overheard his girlfriend, Sophia, laughing on the phone in the next room. "No, I don't love him," she was saying. "Come on, I'm just with him for the lifestyle and money he can offer me." Jamal froze. Her words were like a punch to the gut, as he never thought he was in a relationship with someone who actually cares for him. Later that night, he confronted her. "Sophia, is that really how you feel?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Sophia barely looked up. "Jamal, you've got everything, but you're never really here. I mean, what do you expect?" She shrugged. "People want what you can give them. That's just how it is." "You are just like the others. Get out of my house. I don't want to see you ever again," he angrily said. Her indifference cut deeper than he expected. As he lay awake in bed that night, staring at the ceiling in years, he felt something shift inside him. He was done with the hollow friendships, the shallow romances. He craved something real, and he knew he'd never find it in his current world. The next morning, Jamal acted decisively and unlike him. He summoned his lawyer and business partners to his office. "I'm stepping back from Jamal Limited, effective immediately," he announced. His team was stunned. "But Jamal, this company is your life's work," one of them protested. "It's only work. I am still a part of the company, but I don't make decisions anymore for the company," Jamal replied calmly. "I need to live." He instructed them to keep his decision quiet and arranged to transfer his and ownership status and responsibilities to trusted colleagues. With that, he walked out of the skyscraper he'd built, leaving behind the empire that once defined him. Adopting the name Jake, he booked a one-way ticket to a new city where no one knew him as Jake. Arriving in his new town, Jake embraced anonymity. He rented a small, worn-down apartment in a diverse neighborhood and took a job at Home Haven, a nonprofit organization that provided support to struggling families. His co-workers knew him only as Jake, an ordinary man with a passion for helping others. For the first time, he felt free. "Jake," his new manager said one day, handing him a toolbox, "think you can help with the new shelter renovation?" "Of course," Jake replied, feeling strangely fulfilled as he rolled up his sleeves. Gone were the tailored suits and designer watches. Now he wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, blending into the crowd. The simple, gritty work was refreshing, and he found a sense of purpose in tasks he'd once considered beneath him. One afternoon, while working on a new project, Jake was introduced to Amara, a dedicated social worker at Home Haven. She was spirited, intelligent, and unafraid to speak her mind. "Jake, right?" she asked with a friendly smile, reaching out her hand. "That's me," he replied, shaking her hand. "Nice to meet you, Amara." Over time, they were assigned to work together, and their bond deepened. She had a way of lifting everyone's spirits, even during the toughest days. They often spent late nights discussing plans for the shelter, brainstorming ways to stretch their limited budget. "So, where did you come from before this?" Amara asked one evening, her eyes curious. Jake hesitated, glancing down at his hands. "Just another place," he said softly, hoping she wouldn't press further. Amara shrugged, letting the mystery slide, and continued talking about her dreams for the community center. Jake admired her genuine kindness, the way she seemed to radiate light. Here was someone who didn't care about wealth or fame. For the first time in a long while, he felt he could truly be himself, free from people looking up to him and his money. With time, Jake's feelings for Amara grew stronger, though he kept his distance, fearful of revealing his past. One evening, as they sat on a park bench after a long day, Amara shared a story from her childhood. "My parents moved here with almost nothing," she said, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "They taught me to value the little things. Even now, when life gets hard, I think about their sacrifices and their help for where I see myself today." Jake smiled, feeling a pang of admiration and guilt. "Sounds like they were amazing people." "They are," Amara replied, then looked at him. "And you? What do you value, Jake?" "I guess simplicity, connection, someone to look up to," he murmured, realizing he meant it. Being with Amara had reawakened something in him, a part he thought he'd lost. As their friendship blossomed, Jake found himself wishing he could tell Amara everything. But the thought terrified him. Each time she asked about his background, he deflected, steering the conversation back to her, not knowing what to say to her. "Jake," she said, laughing, "you're a mystery, you know that?" He chuckled nervously. "Maybe that's part of my charm?" She rolled her eyes playfully, but Jake could sense her curiosity. Despite his best efforts, his hidden past felt like a wall between them, and he wondered how long he could keep up the facade. It hurts him, though, that he still hides a big secret from Amara. For months they had been getting along, but he intended to open up his heart one day. One evening, Jake invited Amara to a fundraiser for Home Haven. As they mingled, a well-dressed man recognized as the man of the hour suddenly approached them, his eyes lighting up as he spotted Jake. "Mr. J.K.?" the man asked, barely containing his surprise. "It's an honor, sir." Jake's heart skipped a beat. "Ah," he stammered, forcing a laugh. "You must be mistaking me for someone else." The man looked momentarily confused but nodded, excusing himself with a polite, "Apologies, sir." As the man left, he wondered if that's not actually the same Jamal Kendrick of the Jamal estate littered he knows, but he moved on. Amara, however, wasn't convinced. "Jake," she whispered, her brow furrowing, "why did he call you Mr. J.K.? And why did he treat you with so much respect?" Jake tried to brush it off, but Amara's curiosity was clear. "He probably thought I looked like someone else," he said, forcing a smile. Yet he could see in her eyes that she wasn't satisfied. The moment lingered between them, leaving Jake unsettled, knowing he couldn't hide forever. He tried to come up with a way to break the news to her. Who he is and no other way came to his mind. The encounter at the fundraiser weighed heavily on Jake, unable to bear the deception any longer as he got close to being exposed by his identity, but instead he summoned the courage. He decided to tell Amara the truth of who he really is. He took her to a quiet cafe, and after a long silence he finally spoke. "Amara, there's something I need to tell you. My real name isn't Jake, actually. Jake is an abbreviation for my full name. It's Jamal Kendrick. I'm the founder of Jamal Limited." Amara's face went blank with shock. "Wait, you're that Jamal Kendrick? The billionaire tycoon?" she stammered, barely believing her ears. "Never knew I was this popular, but yes," he said quietly. "I left that life behind to find something real, to find people who see me, not my money." Amara shook her head, hurt flashing across her face. "I can't believe this. So all this time you've been lying to me." "I didn't want to deceive you," he pleaded. "I just didn't want my past to ruin what we had. I have been hurt many times, and I can't even differentiate who is my friend and not anymore." Amara looked away, her voice breaking. "I thought I knew you, Jake, or Jamal. I need time to think." As she walked away, Jake felt his heart shatter, realizing he may have lost the only person who saw him for who he truly was. But he was afraid that his life might have just begun from where he started, as he hallowed in pain of losing who truly cares for him, all because he wanted to keep the secret of who he once was. Days turned into weeks, with phone calls and text messages to Amara. She never did return any reply. Jake was heartbroken. He returned to his old life. But nothing felt the same. He missed Amara with every fiber of his being, and the empty luxury of his former world only intensified his longing for her. He decided to go back to the home haven again, knowing that no matter what, even if he didn't learn any other thing from his stay in home haven, but at least he learned that there are still people who cares for him in this world, and he hoped for Amara to come back to him. One day, while working alone at home haven, he felt a presence behind him. He turned, heart pounding, and saw Amara standing there. "I've had time to think," she began softly, "and I realized that maybe you didn't lie out of malice. Maybe you lied because you were scared, just like anyone else." Jake took a breath, hope flooding his heart as he hugged her tightly. "Amara, I'd give up everything for a second chance with you. You're the only real thing I've ever had." She smiled, her eyes brimming with tears. "Then let's start over." With Amara by his side, Jamal, now embracing both his names, and chose a path that felt true. He kept Jamal, limited, in the hands of his trusted partners, and dedicated himself to causes that genuinely mattered. Together, he and Amara traveled, volunteered, and built a life grounded in love and purpose. One evening, as they walked through the city, Amara took his hand and said, "You know, Jake, or Jamal, or whoever you are, you finally found what you were looking for." He smiled, pulling her close. "All it took was losing everything to find you." In the end, he realized that true wealth wasn't in fortune or fame, but in the connections he built, the love he found, and the meaningful impact he could make. Together, Jamal and Amara forged a life that was richer than anything money could ever buy. They had their moments of doubt and the challenges of adjusting to a simpler life, but every sacrifice felt worth it. Jamal's decision to leave his billionaire status and embrace humility gave him something he'd never experienced before: peace. He no longer had to hide behind the mask of wealth and success. He could wake up each day knowing that the people around him loved him for who he truly was. And in Amara, he found someone who loved him not because of his bank balance, but because of the kindness, vulnerability, and authenticity he showed her. As the months went by, they began working on new projects together, helping more families, building community centers, and launching initiatives that made a lasting difference in the city. Amara, always driven by her sense of purpose to help people, and that had never been more fulfilled. And Jamal, now free from the burden of his former life, found joy in each day, knowing that the love he shared with her was the most valuable thing he had. One day, as they stood together on the rooftop of their modest apartment, looking out over the city they'd come to love, Jamal turned to Amara. "You know, I never thought I'd find happiness like this," he said, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Amara leaned her head against his shoulder, looking out over the skyline. "Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize that the things that truly matter were there all along." Jamal kissed her forehead softly, his heart full. "You were my greatest treasure, Amara, and I wouldn't trade this life for anything." Together, they watched the sunset, knowing that no amount of fame or fortune could ever measure up to the true wealth they had found in each other. In the end, Jamal found what he was looking for, and yes, it cost him everything he had, and this was his love story. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.